Hello, and welcome back to Tech Tuesday. A few weeks ago, I was talking about how to take a variety of different student responses and use them in order to lead a broader discussion on a topic. You can actually do this with a lot of different programs. Formative is a great example of how to do this. Maybe you have an open-ended question. In this case, in order to start our horror unit, we were talking about whether the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark book should have been banned. This is something that was actually in one of our textbooks. So I had students talk about this based on the evidence that they got from a website and say yes or no and why. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take all of these, put these into a couple of different categories, have students take a look at what their classmates have said and respond to it. So let's take a look at how to take all of that data, put it into ChatGPT and have it create a slide for us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my formative, I'm going to export this to a CSV file, which is also something I can import into Microsoft Excel or to Google Sheets. I'll do that. I'm going to save this to somewhere on my computer where I'll be able to find it. I'm going to go ahead, open up Google Sheets, create a new spreadsheet up here, go to File, Import, Upload, figure out where I save that, double click, it'll import this. I'll say yes, import the data right here. Then what I'll do is I'll go to my last question. This was an open-ended question that I was asking for a student's opinion on a particular set of stories, whether or not they should be banned in schools. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Kind of goes along with the unit that we're talking about here. So I'll type in a prompt for ChatGPT. Can use the questions and the answers to kind of summarize student responses and have students actually respond to that as a opener bell work tomorrow. So I've copied and pasted those there. Here's what it'll say. Students who agreed with the ban, disagreed, students who were kind of in the middle. Then I'm going to go ahead and say, can you actually create a presentation where they actually pick one of these, say, I never thought about that before, and respond to it. So it'll do that. Sped this up a little bit. It'll analyze, then put together a PowerPoint presentation, which I can take, go into Google Slides, import this, now, when I take a look at this presentation, I can import all of the slides if I want to. I'll resize this. But as I'm doing this, I might say, you know what works a little bit better? I actually want to put these all together on one slide so that when students come in, they can take a look at this, respond to one of these opinions from their classmates, either talk about for, against, or middle ground, and then say, hey, I never thought about this particular point of view until someone brought it up, and it makes me think of fill in the blank. So kind of student-led responses and answers. So it'll think again. Here's the Pear Deck prompt that I can use. And I'll say, yes, I actually do want you to generate another PowerPoint, but this time just do it on a single slide. It'll do that, analyze for a second. Say, here is my new PowerPoint. Download this. Save. I'm going to go back to Google Slides. Import this. I can either browse or just drag it down there. It'll upload. There's all of my stuff on one slide. Now, ChatGPT isn't great with design. So what I'll do after I have that single slide is I'll just do a little reformatting. I have all of my main ideas here, but to make it a little bit easier to see, I'll go ahead, put this into 3 columns, take the prompt, put it at the bottom. Seems like a lot of work, but I have my main ideas there. I was able to kind of take all of these student responses, summarize them a bit, and get students to look at one another's responses and go, oh, I never thought of that. That's a really good point that that person made. And perhaps this discussion about banning this book is a little bit more nuanced than just yes or no. And it makes for a pretty good intro discussion for a particular topic. Thank you for watching this edition of Tech Tuesday. If you have any questions or would like something to be covered in the future, let me know.